Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. If you enjoy our content, please consider donating and following our socials. Now, here are your hosts, Lady Alba and Lord Knight.
And we're back with fresh coffee.
And a, ironically, sonically probably displeasing version of Pagan Coffee Talk today.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, we are dealing with some, with everything going on in the state after the hurricane, we're recording in a different way than usual, which is going to definitely affect our audio quality. So we apologize for this, everybody, but we'll get through it. So I know that you and Lord Knight did an episode not all that long ago about music and about sound in general. Will you give us kind of a quick recap on that?
Well, we've touched on it in several ways, being that sound in general can be a good way to alter your consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And in doing so, you're able to tap into more abilities of the brain, if you will, because you're opening up all that space in the brain, right? And it's got to do with resonance. It's got to do with vibrations. It's got to do with tones. Each note vibrates at a certain frequency.
Well, just to, if I'm not mistaken, the part of the brain that controls speech is different from the part of the brain that deals with music and song, which is why often stroke and dementia patients have an easier time singing than they do speaking. Mm-hmm. And they can remember things in song that they can't readily access. It's wild. It's a completely different portion of the brain.
Right.
Interesting. So we wanted to explore a little bit about the voice, I'm going to say as a spiritual conduit, maybe.
Okay.
Chanting, singing, speaking, rhythm. At the end of the day, and we've heard plenty of people say it, right? We are a musical instrument.
Right.
I mean, technically that's accurate.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, our chest cavity and the way our vocal cords work is basically a guitar.
Right. Between the chest cavity and the nasal cavities, you've got at least four cavities up in your head. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a lot of resonant space.
Yeah. And then it's just a matter of how we use it. You have always also cracked me up because as our resident music director and, musical compadre, most of the people at Temple cannot sing, myself included, and you will always kind of have this, everyone needs to make a joyful noise sometimes.
Right.
Attitude towards it.
Right.
Because otherwise, we have to encourage people to use their voice as a spiritual gift, even if they don't necessarily possess music abilities.
Right.
And I think that is important, and it's something that people tend to shy away from because they're embarrassed.
Right. Well, I mean, I look at it this way. I grew up in a church, and their thing was make a joyful noise unto the Lord. I heard it all the time, the time.
Yeah.
And so it was an encouragement, like for folks like my daddy. My daddy couldn't carry a tune in a bucket if you gave it to him. But daddy loved to sing.
Oh.
Mama tried her best. She could somewhat carry a tune, but she tried her best, but she loved to sing.
Where did you come from then?
I have no idea. My grandma, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandma used to be a singer. So I think I got it from her, but I don't know. It just, that kind of stuck with me throughout every aspect of my life was that, and music's always been a huge part of my life. If I didn't have music, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, even inside of ritual space, make a joyful noise. It is what it is. It uplifts the spirit.
I think the why is what always gets me. Why? Because I mean, at the end of the way, we all do it. We all sing when no one's listening. We all, we sing in the car. We sing, but why? Why is it so moving and so important? It's a really wild phenomenon. And I mean, even babies, we're all affected by it. And I've always kind of wondered, what that is exactly and where it comes from, because it's not something we often think about. We just do it.
I think it kind of starts as babies. Mothers sing to their babies.
Yeah.
It's comforting. It's soothing, right? And then as we get older, we find other aspects. We find that music touches certain emotions.
Yeah, that's for sure.
There's a song by Celtic Thunder. I love this song, but I cannot listen to it. It tears me up every time. And I cannot listen to it. But it's a beautiful song and I love it.
Yeah.
But that's the power of music.
Yeah.
It has a way of touching you.
How, and I wonder this, because I often think when people do, I think back to when I did, solitary rituals and I wasn't part of a group. I don't know how much of them I spoke aloud. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Probably none.
Yeah.
If any.
Yeah. And you comparatively, I now go, oh, something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a big deal. I think that part of our intention, part of the act of binding, of committing to something, right? Making a promise or striking a pact even. All of those things are critical in spoken form. I also think good grief, just about every rabbi, right, that I've ever met, they chant. Because the Torah is not spoken, is my understanding. It's sung.
Right.
And I think it's because you're not supposed to speak the name of God. I think that's part of the lore there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to speak it, but you can sing it. I don't know if it's like a loophole or what, but
I think it is technically, but I don't really know for sure. But yeah. But here's the thing though. When it comes down to it, you're talking about, you mentioned it in passing. It's intention, right? We are musical instruments. Vocal cords are the strings.
Yep.
What people don't realize is that when you truly believe something and you speak it, you can feel it.
Well, there's that resonance piece, sure.
Right.
It moves your body, literally.
Yes. When I sang in the church, I believed everything that I sing. And every time I sang in the church, sang a solo or had a solo in the choir or whatever, every single time, people would come up to me afterwards talking about how it touched them. And these are just examples, right? Just to get across to the point. My senior year in high school, we had a talent show. I don't know if I've told you this story. We had a talent show and I decided that I was going to sing a Christian song.
Okay.
Something, it was a public school, and I was the only one who did anything related to Christianity at all.
Interesting.
Right. So I was kind of the black sheep of the talent show to begin with. So I get up and I sing this song and I'm not really thinking about it. And it's called The Three Nails. And it's a beautiful song about the crucifixion and how, about this little girl standing there with her daddy, asking her questions and the daddy trying to explain to the little girl what's going on. It's a beautiful song. And when it was over, I got 3 standing ovations, which I did not expect. I didn't win, but I got 3 standing ovations. And the biggest bully in the school approached me afterwards, put his finger to my chest and said, "That's not fair." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You made me cry."
Oh,
So that's my point. When you truly believe what you're speaking or whatever you're singing, it's going to come through, and it's called manifesting for a reason.
Wow. That's a great story. It makes me realize too the sheer volumes of hymnals that exist.
Yes.
And, it's funny because we think of, right, there's only one Bible, but hymnals, holy moly. But yeah, I mean, and again, obviously in this country, we're very slanted Christian. So we see a lot of hymnals, but other faiths, it exists too.
Yes.
But I think pagans always maybe feel a little disconnected from that. We don't quite have it. So I have my own thoughts on it, on how to achieve, that. But I'd like yours first. I'd like your thoughts on how we start to, collect like the use of music in ritual and how we start to create our own hymns in a sense.
Well, in a way, we kind of have. Over the years, there has been an influx of pagan musicians. There is more pagan music out there now than there has ever been.
Yep.
Back in the 90s, I used to be able to find just a handful of artists.
Yeah.
And now they're all over the place. There are songs that they've been around for a while, and they're like little chants.
Yep.
And they're pretty common.
Okay.
People, more than one person has recorded their version of these songs.
Right.
That's like the best starting place because they're so common. It brings that unification into whatever it is we're doing.
Where do you tend to find them?
I have found them in various places. Back in the day, it was Napster. I know, right? Dating myself. But now, I mean, you can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Spotify. You can find them, I went to Amazon Music and I just typed in Pagan.
Wow.
Or Spotify. It was somewhere. I went to one of those things and I just typed in Pagan. And it pulled up a slew of pagan music. There's international pagan radio.
Oh, yeah.
And they do spotlights on pagan musicians. They have a top 10 that they do on a weekly basis.
Jeez.
I mean, you can find this stuff anywhere now. It's beautiful.
Do you think that the pagan music carries the same weight of some of what we see in other religions? And what I mean by that is, right, does it carry the same ancient origins? I find a lot of it is it to me, some of it smacks as too contemporary, which I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer, my religious music to have a much older feel
to it.
Yeah.
I find the stuff that I like to use for ritual and for meditation and things like that, I do enjoy having that quote unquote ancient feel to it.
Yeah.
I think it lends to that altered state of consciousness. The other stuff is just fun to listen to. You know what I mean? It'd be like the difference of going to church, going to Catholic Mass, right? And listening to the chants.
Yeah.
As opposed to outside of church, you're listening to, I don't know, Striper. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But it's the difference between the two.
Yeah.
They both do kind of the same thing. They're both lifting up in that religious context, but one is designed for ritual.
Right.
The other is not necessarily.
Yeah, and that's something that again, me personally, I've always found interesting is that a lot of, the contemporary pagan music to me, it's meant for listening, for enjoyment, but I don't necessarily see it as something I could easily incorporate into a ritual practice. Now, Go ahead, because I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, here's a different viewpoint on that. How many times have you been to a concert?
Mm-hmm. Many.
Say, I don't know. Say Rob Zombie.
Sure.
Okay.
I've only seen him 5 or 6 times. I don't know.
Okay. But every time, people get into a frenzy, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
How is that not ritualistic?
Oh, for sure.
So it's not to say it can't be done.
No, it's not. And
it's in a different context.
But I have found, and I don't know if it's like a bardic kind of holdover. I find that a lot of the contemporary pagan material, it's missing the hook. It's missing the repetitive component that makes it something that can build that as a group. So for me, a lot of times when I'm looking for music and song to bring into ritual, I'm actually looking to contemporary artists or mainstream artists, because they do bring some of that. And, be it a new group or an older one, there's something much more, in a way, simplistic and easy about the beat, the repetition, that familiarity is what brings people in. I mean, I did a ritual not that long ago. Everybody got a giggle out of it. And I mean, it was kind of it was a fun ritual, and it was Sweet Caroline, because who doesn't know the words? Right? At the very least, by the time you get to right, everybody's on board. And that's sort of what I feel that some of the music lacks, right? It's that connection, it's that recognition, it's that thing that allows people to lose themselves in it. I think that that's such an important part of doing those sorts of things. The ritual that we just did for Mabon was kind of the same thing, where I created a sort of chant component that was just so simple, even though we had people in the group who couldn't read it off of a piece of paper. They were easily able to, memorize it and just insert it right along with everyone else where it was. And I think that that's part of what creates that sense of belonging.
It is, yeah.
Ritual, yeah. And it's like, how do we get more of that? Is it that we need to do clergy need to take the time to think more about the musical component? I always feel like it always kind of upsets me a little when there's no music. I'm like, it should be there. It's such a part of spirituality that I try, even, my first degree is I'm always like, put some music in it. Where's the music? Right?
Where's the music?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's been my goal since I started with Life Temple, was to try to bring more music into this, because I do feel it's an important part. It helps to set the stage.
Yeah.
I think. And like I said, if you find the right thing, it can literally reach out and touch somebody. I mean, how many times have you heard a song from the past and it take you back to a specific memory about something?
Absolutely.
So there's a powerful component to music.
Do you think that there's also something to be said about the time of year and the predictability of where the music falls, right? I know for me, Catholic Mass, right, it was knowing, okay, it's Christmas time. We're going to hear, there's particular music that's associated with it. There are particular songs and hymns that, right, kind of lend to that. And again, sometimes I wonder, are we doing enough to bring that to the table? Are we doing enough to create something consistent? I know that's a tough one, because pagans don't always like that word, right?
No. I don't think we are as a community.
Yeah.
I think there's a few songs I've been trying to go through my playlists, And as I discover new music, see if it relates to anything. So I've been trying to create like a playlist for Samhain, a playlist for Yule, a playlist for Mabon.
Yeah.
Just so that I can sort of have those in one place. You know what I mean? To see if there's anything that we can do that's kind of like at Christmas time. You know, you're going to hear sleigh bells ring. Are you listening?
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So
that's what I mean.
that
is such a, there's something about that when we talk about moving the soul, moving the body. And also I do think that when the lyrics and the tune itself are that familiar, we are more likely to engage. We are more likely to participate because we're unencumbered by the learning part, or we're unencumbered by having to, read words. We just know them.
Yeah, and it's easier to fall into that space in your head to where it's just like muscle memory. It's like you start hearing those familiar Christmas carols, and it's like you could do it with your eyes closed. You could do it while you're driving, while you're writing a letter.
It's there.
It's that familiarity, and I think that's an important aspect as well.
There's a beautiful story that happened here in Charlotte when our soccer team had their inaugural match, the Charlotte FC. A lot of people who have not attended a game, they don't know this, but there's now this really wild tradition, and it was born from the fact that at the inaugural game match, whoever was singing the national anthem, there was a mishap about, I want to say, 10 seconds into the song. So we're talking quick, right? They maybe got the first 2 lines of the song out, and the PA system cut out.
Wow.
And there was no getting it back. The crowd subbed in.
Love it.
75,000 people took over the national anthem for the person who was singing it and then joined along. And so now they have actually made it a tradition at the stadium. The person singing the national anthem only sings the first line by themselves, and then everybody joins in, and it's wild to watch.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
But that's the sort of thing that I go, how do we achieve that? Because for most of us, right, we weren't raised with pagan music. We don't have, like, there's no pagan song that we have memorized in that way. So, like, for us at Life Temple, we have one song consistently that we use to close ritual. I think Lord Min is the one who wrote it. I don't know. No, he's not.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. That's a song. It's a song that I've heard for years.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the first songs that I discovered. Yeah. And it's super simple to memorize.
Are you responsible for us using that?
Yes.
Lord Oswin! Here I am all this time. I am shook right now. I thought you have me absolutely flabbergasted. Because Lord Min, he was musical, he sung, he played piano. He occasionally wrote a ditty or two for, I honest to goodness thought that was him. That you brought that in.
I brought that in. That's a song. Yep. That's a song. Like I said, I discovered that song years ago when I first started discovering pagan music. And it's just I thought it's like it's a perfect way to close it out.
But that's it then. It's that effort. It's making that consistency, because I've seen it time and time again, right? It's such a simple little song and melody that beginners to circle, right? What does it take? Maybe twice?
Maybe.
Yeah. If they're in ritual space with us twice, they get it. they're going to start kind of maybe missing a word or two, but they'll start singing along. And pretty soon it's very familiar for everyone. That's amazing. We need more. We need more of that.
Yeah.
That's so great. I feel, wow. Okay, now I feel obligated to go tell everyone. That's amazing.
We used to, and I don't know if you know this or not, but we used to years ago. And I'm not sure why we ever stopped. We didn't do it a whole lot, but a few times. We would actually start ritual with the witch's rune. And everybody would chant the witch's rune while the priest and priestess were
cast.
Yep.
I like that too. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little more difficult because then you got to have papers and things like that. But if you do it enough times, people will remember it.
But even just clapping, stomping,
yes,
beat. I mean, it's so critical. And then, I've always been enamored by, I go back to the whole rabbi thing and, like the Gregorian chanting and stuff. Anyone can chant.
Yes.
Anyone. It doesn't matter if you can sing, you can chant.
Nope. You don't have to be able to sing.
No, but just trying it, incorporating it, using it can be extremely powerful, and it can move yourself, your working, your ritual in a whole new direction, and it's worth experimenting with.
Absolutely.
I try so hard, especially when we have new initiates. And even before then, really to get them primed, but to get people comfortable with speaking in ritual and reading certain things inside of ritual, because the more we get them away from the piece of paper and speaking from the heart, the more moving and beautiful it is for everyone, including them. Once you get past the embarrassing part. That's really it. It's always the nerves and the bit of embarrassment that kind of gets people, which makes me go, do we need to go call a rabbinical school and go, hey, how do you guys handle the chanting thing? Because everybody's embarrassed by it. It's tough.
I mean, you could, but yeah, I don't know. It's getting people to do it. And once they do it a few times, it gets so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
It's like anything else. I mean, like when you started circle casting, it was a little awkward, right?
Oh my goodness. That's an understatement.
The more you did it, the better you got at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's the same thing. It's learning anything new.
Yeah.
You suck at it in the beginning and then it becomes easier.
It's true. It's true. But everyone talks about sound as for healing. And I think about that and I go, well, yeah, song, right? It heals wounds. It heals the mind. It calms you down. I mean, it does so many amazing things without a lot of effort.
Right. And sometimes we do it without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people don't think about incorporating it in that way. But, think about how many times you've been super upset about something.
Yeah.
And you hear a song.
Yeah.
Or a couple of songs. And then all of a sudden you feel better.
I have a playlist that it's my happy playlist. That's all it is. It's the happy playlist. And it is songs that I have long said, I dare you. You cannot be sad and hear this. You can't.
Okay.
Just, you know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah, they're so, and many of them are cute and they're silly and there's a ton of hand clapping, because I don't know why, but hand clapping makes everybody happy.
It does, don't it?
And there's a lot of horns. I found that too. Horn
sections. Okay.
People love a good horn section.
Love horns.
Yeah. And it's just so upbeat that you and so sometimes, it's almost subliminal. If I know somebody's having I just throw that on. And it turns everything so quickly, whether you realize it or not. So I think, I just always think, I think music is worth exploring more in any spiritual practice. I think being less mindful maybe of your own musical limitations and being willing to explore more is very important. And am I right in saying there's a difference between, when it comes to singing, there's a difference between being a good singer and being on pitch? Does that make sense? Like you can...
Yeah. Well, again, if you're feeling it, right? If you feel that in your soul and it comes out, it doesn't matter if you're on pitch or not.
Yeah.
It's gonna come out. That vibration, you are going to send that vibrational resonance out into the world, and it's going to affect people around you.
Yeah. It's, well, and there's something about it that's akin to laughter, right?
Yes.
Like, some people have really odd, really funny laughs.
Yes.
But it's still infectious.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, we can have a not so great voice, but it still can affect those around us.
Let's put it this way. You look at, take Beyonce.
Sure.
No. Great singer, right? Do I think she's the best? No. Right. Because I think she's just singing words.
Okay.
And then you look at somebody like Chris Stapleton.
Oh, interesting.
That man, I mean, it just oozes out of him every time he opens up his mouth.
Yeah. Isn't Tennessee Whiskey is one of his, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about. He just, some people are just natural at it. And I think he's one of them. It doesn't matter what he sings. It's just going to come out. Right. But when you feel it, that's the kind of feeling you get when you hear somebody who feels what's coming out of their mouth.
And then once in a blue moon, you get lucky and you get both. And to me, right, that's Whitney Houston.
Okay, yes.
She did the cover of the Steve Winwood song, Higher Love. Oh, my God. That is
beautiful.
It's incredible. It is... Whew. And I don't know if some of that, for her, I think it could be attributed to the fact that she grew up in the church. She was a church singer.
She was, yes.
But that just emotional power and just, she was one of a kind. There's no doubt.
So but that's kind of what I'm talking about. When you'll know when somebody, if you're hearing somebody who believes what's coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
You will feel it. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. You are, in so many ways, and I think that really is maybe the whole point of this episode is taking the time to really feel the words and to really meditate on them, spend time with meaning and connect, because that makes all the difference in everything that we lend our voice to.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for going on this little magical musical journey with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. It's, I love talking about this stuff. So.
Well, I have long said that when anything musical in any form comes into question at Life Temple, I'm like, don't talk to me. Talk to Lord Oswin, please. That is his domain.
That's funny.
Oh, goodness. And I mean, and part of it is, I think, too, I'm speaking for me, but I'm going to throw Lord Knight in here, too. We're jealous. I'm downright jealous of what you're able to do musically, vocally, inside of ritual. I mean, I've watched you learn instruments from nothing, and I'm like, how the hell? Where does what? Yeah. I think it's great. I've always said my want, if I could, in an ideal, at some point, that we would have a temple, like a quartet, or a trio of people who could sing and maybe do a little bit of musical instrument at the same time. And I mean, that would be amazing. I'm not going to go so far as to say a pagan choir, but
right. Oh, that would be beautiful. I mean, years ago, it was a thought that I had to kind of reach out to the community and see if anybody was willing to
start a choir.
Start a choir.
Oh, maybe if you're in and around the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and you're interested in a pagan group, pagan choir, I think that could be a lot of fun.
I think it would be fun.
All right. Well, in the meantime, we'll get more coffee and we'll ponder that.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning.